Back everybody to our ongoing quest to build a culture of empathy, and so we're recording this for educational and promotional purposes. Yeah, so we're going to do a short round of check-ins. So we're going to take 30 seconds to share. So any questions or comments from the last session, how your empathy buddy call went, any short report from facilitating an empathy circle last week if you got to it, and I will call on people. So we will go around as I see them on my screen. So Lynette, would you like to share first?
Sure. I had an amazing empathy buddy call. We connected it on many levels, and it was really, really cool to be able to talk with Sylvia and learn a little bit more about her and that. So yeah, it was awesome, and it's been a good week.
Really, really good to hear. Okay, that's great. Graham, would you like to share?
Yes, please. Well, I'm in a good space. I'm very happy to be here. And I had an empathy session with Elsa Marie da Silva. And that was really good. And I had loads of takeaways from that session. So thank you, Elsa. And I look forward to the meeting. So that's me for today. Thank you.
Magic. Linda, would you like to share?
Oh, right, I'm muting. I had a call with my empathy buddy, and we shared a lot of stuff. It was kind of interesting because we got to the end of the call and it was like, oh, perhaps we didn't actually do sort of the empathy thing, but it was very helpful and very interesting and great to connect with somebody. I did facilitate an empathy circle with people from my local community. There were only a few people, and it was a great way to start with just a few people. I was glad only a few people came, actually. Yeah, it was good. I found it a little bit challenging though to be the facilitator. I realise it's quite it's important role, but challenging.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, it's great. Herbert, you're up next. I think you're on mute.
I am mute.
Yeah, cool.
I am not mute now.
Great.
Okay, two things. One is I had like every Sunday my empathy launch, and I was very happy what we did there. And I couldn't arrange to this empathy buddy call with Timothy. Hi, Timothy, I see you. And so I still don't know what HESFCA USA is. And I hope I can learn it in the next days. So Timothy, please reply to my email.
Already done.
That's for sure. And if anybody wants to see the German corona statistics, I can send it in the chat.
Thanks, Herbert. Renee, would you like to share?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. You know, I had a wonderful connection with my empathy buddy. Really enjoyed it. And I introduced this method of doing empathy to a practice group that I run, and got positive feedback. So they were able to compare it to other ways of doing empathy, and really enjoyed it. And I continue to learn to do it myself. Thank you.
Magic. It's really cool. Elsa Marie.
Hi, everyone.
So I had a great week. I converted our safe circle into an empathy circle and they enjoyed it. So much so that they asked for this Friday's safe circle to also be another empathy circle. And I get to practice my skills as a facilitator again. And then I had an amazing buddy call with Graham, and we, shared for 1 hour, and it passed very quickly. So I'm very pleased with myself. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Michelle, or would you like to share?
Yeah, hi. I had a great conversation with my empathy buddy, Rasha, I believe her name was, or is. I don't see her here today, but we had a really good conversation. I'm not sure if it was in alignment with what we were supposed to do, but it was good to get to know each other. We really got a chance to do that. So that was really nice.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm feeling good. Needy cat here, sorry. After a few minutes, he'll be fine and he'll take off. But that's it for me. His name's Nesta.
I can feel the empathy between the two of you. It's gorgeous.
All right, thanks.
It's really sweet. Yeah, thanks for the lovely update. Cool. Sylvia.
Hey everyone. I feel like time passed in a flash since last Wednesday. But there are two things I can remember. First off, it's my empathy buddy call. Just like my empathy buddy Lynette, I had an amazing conversation. And I joined this awesome thing that Herbert organizes, this empathy lounge on Sunday. It was awesome too. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, I'm feeling good today.
Oh, well done, mighty.
Thanks.
Nice. Heather, would you like to share?
Sure. I had a great empathy buddy call with Claire. I'm realizing now after reading everyone's email, we did not follow what we were supposed to do. We had such a wonderful time. We're totally going to stay in touch. We learned a lot, so that was awesome. And I hosted an empathy circle on Monday with 3 colleagues, friends, and it was really lovely. And I find that I have a lot of questions that I walk away with, so I'm keeping track of those, and I'm excited to keep learning over the next couple of weeks.
Magic. Ibitsam.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm really happy and grateful to be here again in this space and to see everyone. I had an magical empathy buddy call with you, Michelle, as you know, and I don't know how to even describe it. It was the reason I'm using the magic is, I don't know, magic means different things to different people. For me, it was spiritual, it was connective, it was healing. I could go on, so I'm going to stop here. With that encouragement, I actually landed up hosting my first empathy circle as well.
Hey!
I'm super proud and just really grateful, because I just feel like, it just felt like a breakthrough for something which I was just holding back for a while. And that feels really promising. And yeah, that's me. I'm excited to see what's going to happen now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited too for what's ahead for you. It's really cool. Celine.
I enjoyed my call with my empathy buddy, who's not here right now, Amy. I think we both enjoyed our connection. And I have not done an empathy circle this week, but I have 3 scheduled for next week. So I'm excited. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Yeah. Thanks so much, Celine. Claire.
Hi, it's lovely to see you all again, and the week has flown by. I echo Heather. I had such a lovely call. I could have spoken for much longer because she's doing such important work and such fascinating stuff, and I learned a lot. And it kind of, because from our conversation, I wrote a lot of words this morning just about this idea of how we translate it into politics. So yeah, it was really constructive. I've not been able to do an empathy circle yet, but I do have friends who are really willing to do one this week. So I'm hoping to report back for next week about how that goes. So thank you again to Heather. It was really good to speak.
Cool. Really nice. And Tully.
So I didn't have an empathy buddy call because I didn't notice the list of buddies on the website. And I was very busy. We had like a first animal rebellion action yesterday here. It was really exciting. I'm now really tired, trying to rest. Last circle I facilitated was with friends. It was really, really nice, but started late, and I wonder like how to bring more people, how to spread this to more people, because it's difficult for me to find enough people. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the share. Nice. Amy.
Hi, everyone. I had a wonderful conversation with Celine, and we talked about her past experience with nonviolent communication and mediation, and it was just so fascinating to see what life was like in all her journeys. And we got to talk a little bit about my journey and some of the anxieties that I was having around my book launch. So really fascinating and really great. And then I have put out to the world, like as of like late last night, I was like, oh, I want to go do some empathy circles. And, you know, I'm already full for the next month and a half of empathy circles. Everybody's like, yes, I wanted all this. I'm having it all. So, so that's really great to know that there's a big market out there for this. So for empathy and all the stuff we're doing. So I'm excited.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, really, really cool. I think that's all of I can see on my screen of so can I we'll go to the trainees. Erin.
Hi. Yeah, I had kind of a difficult week. So really regretting I didn't get to connect with Anatoly. I'm sure that would have been just what I needed. So hoping to connect with you maybe this week if we could fit in, and I really love that. Awesome. Yeah, I just had one empathy circle, enjoyed that. That was very good, and hoping to do a couple next week. So, and happy to be here.
Yeah, lovely. Cool. Tim.
Hey, everybody. Yes, Herbert, I responded to your email. We're on for this week, and that means I'll get to have 2 empathy buddy calls this week. I'm looking forward to it. I also had a busy week. I had one circle with my neighbors, which was meaningful, just really meaningful. And I'm noticing that as people return to empathy circles together and build trust, the content, like the depth of content increases. And we were kind of at a good healing level for our last circle this last week, and that was really meaningful. Thank you.
Really nice. And the trainers, Lou.
Sure. So I'm very happy to be here. Grateful to see all of you, and know that you're here to try to participate and to learn a new skill. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here, happy to connect.
Thanks so much, Lou. And Bill?
Yeah, sure. I really appreciate, I've been doing a lot of different circles, and it's encouraging on the Friday circles. We're getting a lot of people, so I invite you to come if you want to, practice your facilitation skills. That's a good way. And just really appreciating everybody, seeing people, and I really feel the force of empathy growing. And, I'm a big fan. Thanks.
Magic, yeah, I'm feeling that momentum as well. It's just, yeah, wow, thank you. And Edwin.
Yeah, I was feeling a little overwhelmed talking about the magic. The magic takes a lot of organization. There's a lot of nuts and bolts to create magic, I'm learning. So anyway, I was starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed with, oh man, all these groups and stuff. But I got a new idea for sort of organizational process for the cohorts I'm really excited about. And I'll mention that at the end of the session. I'm also feeling a bit frustrated because I'm trying to get Republicans to take part in empathy circles. And it's just, contacting Republicans, Congress members, for taking part with my Democrat congressperson is just a challenge. So it just feels a bit stressful and frustrating. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm dealing with. Thanks.
And yeah, thanks so much, Edwin. Yeah, I'll share a really quick update. And yeah, I had really like a really great empathy buddy call this week, which it was just, yeah, it was just exactly why I really love being part of this community and part of this movement. And then joined 2 calls as a facilitator, as a backup facilitator. So the introduction call on Friday, and then another one for some of the XR movement in the UK and Leicester, where they were running an event. So yeah, I feel like the new year is kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of finding my feet a little bit more. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Am I next?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're up.
All right. So now I'm going to answer some of the questions that were asked in the feedback forms that people filled out. So I'm going to take a few minutes to answer those questions. So somebody asked a question about, can empathy circles be used for practical discussions and or difficult conversations? And I would say that what the empathy circle really does is it helps promote mutual understanding. So people are listening to each other and talking about things that are important to them. And that helps reveal things that people might not understand about each other, even if the focus of the empathy circle is around a particular topic or a incident or something like that. The idea is it promotes people understanding each other. But there isn't an explicit component in the empathy circle about problem solving. And I assume what the person means by a practical discussion is, that there's some result from it, like it involves problem solving or actually a resolution of a conflict. And to do that usually requires some kind of agreed action at the end of understanding. So empathy circles can be used for it if you add that to the end, like taking a portion of the circle to talk about, well, so what might we want to do about this, or what might we want to do differently, or how could we repair the disconnect that happened? And sometimes that arises spontaneously in an empathy circle when there's enough understanding, but not necessarily. So yeah, so I would say that that's my answer to, how it can be used for those purposes. You might have to explicitly do that part of it, the problem solving part of it. Second question was about being a facilitator and a participant at the same time. Can I really do that? How can I be a facilitator and a participant at the same time? And as you grow more comfortable and familiar with the empathy circle process and the different parts of keeping time and intervening and all that, which is a lot to pay attention to when you first start doing it. And so it probably feels a little overwhelming. As you become more comfortable with that stuff, it will be easier for you to do that. I know when I first started facilitating, I thought it was really odd that the facilitator was a participant in the circle. Usually facilitators who are facilitating a process don't participate. And I do think it's a huge strength that the facilitator does participate in the empathy circle. And I can go into more about that at another time, but there are lots of reasons why it's a huge strength for the facilitator to participate. Okay, mirroring emotional tone. So someone wrote a thing about, you know, I tend to be a happy person, and then when I'm reflecting someone back, I tend to have a happy emotional tone or countenance, and that might not match where the person is. And I do think that part of doing a reflection is mirroring what the person is, the emotional tone of where they are. So I would say you want to do a check on that. You don't want to be smiling and happy if the person is talking about something that's very difficult for them. You don't have to feel the same emotion as them, and if they're upset, be upset. But you don't want to be the opposite of where they are. You want to be somewhere between neutral to close to where they are. If they're celebrating, let that feeling of celebration come into you, you know, or the idea is empathy is you're entering the experience of the other person. So you can let the feelings that they're having affect you, and in that way come closer to their tone. I would say though, for people who are really sensitive, you need to be careful about not letting the emotions affect you too much. That can be overwhelming, and then you actually can't stay present. So you need to have what I would call some shielding. People who are really highly sensitive, emotionally sensitive, you should have some kind of a shield for yourself that lets as much through as you're willing to take, but is willing to hold out too much so you don't get overwhelmed. The next question was about what if you have a reflector who takes more time to do their reflection than the speaker does to do their speaking. And this does happen sometimes because a person's not good at reflecting, or they're just a person who's not very clear, and they use a lot of words to say whatever they're going to say. And I would say that, I would say as a facilitator, I would provide a person like that some guidance. So I probably wouldn't do it the first time, but I'd say the second or third time that they're doing a reflection, if they're taking a really long time and people are getting frustrated because of that, then I would just say something like, your reflection, again, naming what's happening, your reflection is actually taking more time than the person who spoke. Could you use fewer words, or try to do it in less time than the person took? I would give them that guidance and see what they could do with it. Confidentiality and empathy circles. So we don't have the general description of empathy circle does not include anything about confidentiality. But if you're facilitating a circle and you want to make it confidential, you could certainly do that. If you're doing an empathy circle with people that nobody knows, like people are not that familiar with each other, you want to be careful not to create a false sense of security by saying this is confidential, and you really have no idea whether the people there are going to keep something confidential. And if you're worried about that as a facilitator, you could say, so please be mindful of what you share, because then this last question was about creating safety. How do you create safety in an empathy circle so that people feel safe to share stuff? And I'd say one is by following the structure of the empathy circle. That actually creates safety because it provides guidance. And the other is to follow that structure, to when people deviate from it, to gently invite people back into it. Because if you say we're going to do something a certain way and then you don't really do that, then that reduces the amount of safety for people. And I'd say the other thing that creates it, being warm and welcoming and empathetic. If you create a warm, empathetic space by the way you act as a facilitator, and by your own in your own sharing, then that helps set a norm for the circle. And then Heather, you said you're collecting a list of questions, so I wondered if you wanted to ask one of them right now.
Oh gosh, I am not prepared with another
Okay,
question.
well, you don't have to. I just wanted to invite you to, if you wanted to.
I'll put him in the next round of feedback.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Great. Does anyone have questions about what I said, or do any of the other instructors want to add anything to what I said?
Lou, there's a question in the chat. Herbert, do you want to share that question verbally?
Oh, thank you. So regarding confidentiality, how about adopting the Chapman House rules? Well, we could look at that. And again, I think, so not all empathy circles. I mean, I heard someone make a comment earlier this morning about, it was actually Timothy, saying that the empathy circle he did was really healing and people went really deep, and that was great. And that's wonderful. But not all empathy circles are about healing. And the emotional depth of them, there's not a requirement to have a certain kind of emotional depth. So, you know, I could be having an empathy circle about, you know, something political, and really I'm just trying to understand the points of view of other people. So we're having a discussion, and it might go deep, but it might not. In terms of emotionally deep, it might go intellectually deep, but not necessarily emotionally deep. So be careful about any bias that you might have about that the empathy circle is supposed to be a certain kind of emotional depth, or it's supposed to be a certain kind of depth of some kind, because not all of them are the same. And so not all of them require confidentiality, or that would be a sensitive issue about it. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, I just want to say, as far as the reflection on the time, generally I give myself kind of a subliminal suggestion that I want to speak about half the time that the speaker speaks when I'm reflecting. And it's not always perfect, and, you know, and things like that. And sometimes the speaker will lead you into, you know, more of the weeds, so to speak. But that's just a rule of thumb that becomes, as you practice it, becomes easier to kind of achieve. That's it.
And I'd say that, you know, one of the great benefits of the facilitator participating in the circle is that you have a chance to help set the norms for the circle. So your reflections are an example of what a reflection is. To Bill's point about, so if you're doing a reflection, that's about half, that kind of gives people an idea of what they're supposed to do. And so that is one of the great powers of having a facilitator who is, you know, aware and skillful in how they're doing it in their participating, is that you are helping to demonstrate and set norms for the group.
I think we're ready for the next part, the circle description. Aaron, I think.
You're muted, Aaron.
Thanks, Bill. Sorry about that. So this week in the breakout rooms, we'll all be having the opportunity, taking turns doing the how-to for the empathy circle. So I think we might post in the chat a link if you want to refer to, you know, the how-to, but I'm sure you've all, you know, had the chance to look at that or heard Timothy do the how-to last week, you know. And so we'll have the opportunity for each of you to do that, and also to facilitate a circle. So we'll probably have each student have about 20 minutes for an empathy circle. And in that time, we might take 3 to 5 minute turns per speaker, just kind of depending on the amount of time that we have. And the topic that we'll discuss in those are, what are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator? Or as always, whatever is feeling alive for you at the moment. Okay, so if we're ready, then I think that we'll.
Yeah, I made the groups. We have one person missing, so they were in your group, Aaron. So I'll join your group to sort of fill in the fourth person. So I think we're ready. And for the times, we're going to be going to for the next about hour and a half, and then I'll give a 10-minute warning before the closing. So I think we're ready. Anything else? Just Bill, Lou.
Nope.
Okay.
Just very quickly, I put the link if you're not quite sure about the how-to, and thanks to Edwin, but I put the link of the to the how-to in the chat. So that's what that is.
So that's the one-page PDF. So hopefully.
Right.
Okay. So here we go. See you in the rooms, and we have Aaron, your group stays here in this.
Is this all of us, Edwin?
Yeah, there'll be, I think one person is going to be leaving here. Elsa will be going to, there we go, or no, yeah. Okay, there we go. There's 4 of us. So, and just a quick note is I'm also doing management of stuff. So if I disappear or something, it's just temporary for management.
No problem. So before we start, I just wanted to offer some time if you need to stretch or get up and use the restroom or anything like that. Does anyone feel the need for that, or should we just move ahead? Everybody
carry on.
I'm fine for the moment. Yeah.
Okay, great. And of course, if you need to take a break at any point, please take care of yourself. So today we'll have the opportunity to introduce the Empathy Circle, and and then afterwards we'll just kind of like talk about how that was for you. And I think what we'll do is we'll just do that first, and then after that we'll move into like giving you an opportunity to facilitate. Actually, does everybody have something to kind of keep track of time if they're facilitating? All right, awesome. Okay. And does anybody want to volunteer to go first with their how-to today?
I could go.
Elsa Marie, did you say you would? Okay, great.
So welcome to the Empathy Circle. And we are a circle of 4 people. So we will take turns. So the first person selects who they wish to speak to. And I'll do it in the first round. So I will speak, and we will set a time for about 5 minutes. We'll talk about the theme for today. What are our concerns? I'm just reading the theme. What are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator? Or you can also choose to talk about whatever is alive for you. And the person who I choose as my listener reflects back what they are hearing until I tell them that I feel I've been heard and understood to my satisfaction. And then it's the listener's turn to select the person who they will speak to, and for that new listener to reflect back for about what they are hearing, and that conversation will last for another 5 minutes. And the circle goes on where the third person then becomes the speaker and selects another person. And this is how the circle process moves. The dialogue continues like this for the entire time allotted. Some of the tips, so if you're a speaker, pause often to give the listener a chance to reflect what they've heard. Speak for about 2 or 3 sentences maximum, and then let your listener reflect back. When you are done talking and you feel heard, you can say, "I'm fully heard," to indicate that you're done with your turn. If you are an active listener, or the reflector, then in your own words, you can reflect back the essence of what you hear the speaker saying. Refrain from asking questions, judging or analyzing, detaching, diagnosing, advising or sympathizing. And when it's your turn to speak, you can say anything you want. You may also ask the speaker to pause periodically so you can reflect what you heard. The other two would be silent listeners in this circle. So whilst you're a silent listener, listen and be present to the exchange between the speaker and the active listener, and you will soon have a turn to actively listen and speak. So is that clear?
Very
Great.
clear. Yeah. Anybody have any questions from that? Nothing? I guess there was one at the beginning, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure if I was hearing it correctly, but usually the facilitator will actually be the first listener. And
Okay.
that way, they get to be the first listener, and then they're also a speaker. So in that way, they can model the listening and speaking right there at the beginning. I think must be the intention of it. Yeah. Okay. So, do you want to talk about your feelings about doing it and how it went for you?
So I think what I need to do is be more familiar with the script so that I can not feel uncomfortable and make impromptu, amendments to it, which is why I ended up saying that I will be the speaker when I should have been the listener. So yeah.
Well, I thought you did a great job. You really covered all the key points that I was listening for. I felt like I would know how to do it after listening to you. So great. Anything else about it for you?
No, in my previous empathy circles with some other group, they would also, and it's not here necessarily, which is why I think maybe I need to write my own script where they explain the role of the facilitator, and that's not in this script.
I'd encourage you to do that if you'd like. And sometimes I find it very valuable because you can say things like, as a facilitator, I'll keep time. So, if you see me, show a card saying time, that is, just part of my role to keep the flow going and so that everyone can be heard. And I think another part is even just saying, as a facilitator, I might be here to kind of like, if someone is veered out of the structure that I've just described, I might be there to kind of like invite you back into that structure. So that way and I think Bill will say sometimes, don't take it personally. I've heard him say that, but I might ask you to like come back to the rules of this. So I think that's good. I think, yeah, definitely feel free to explain that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just made just quick feedback. If it felt very clear, it was that was the one thing I flagged too. Was just you want to be the first listener to model it, like Aaron said. That was sort of the main point. Sometimes I'll mention at the beginning, like hopefully you had a chance to see the how-to videos, is to try to prepare people beforehand and kind of get it. Sometimes I'll try to get a sense if they'd seen the videos, or because there's a, I might mention there's a 9-minute how-to video and a 24-minute video, and there's a PDF. So I try to send that to the participants beforehand, kind of check, and then just kind of say it again. So it's good to kind of build the container of the circle. So, but it was very clear for me.
Great. Linda, did you have any feedback for Elsa Marie?
I felt that you covered all the points. One thing I feel myself is quite important if a circle's being held where just anybody is coming, you know, it's an open come, just come, is maybe that a kind of verbal contract is, or you know, the idea that people are, you know, by being in the circle, they're accepting that the process is, they're committed to the process. I suppose that comes from my sense of uncertainty about people actually, you know, buying into the process, I suppose, when they come and having their own perceptions about what an empathy circle is and how they might do it or whatever. So, yeah, I just felt that part would be important for me in the introduction.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that as part of a good introduction. And sometimes it's simply, now that you've heard me describe it, are you, you know, are you all still interested? Do you want to participate with the way I've described it, or how does that sound? You know, sometimes I've heard that, you know, just wrapped up at the end in that way. And it sounds like you may prefer something more formal, but I do hear it included quite often. So that's really good. I guess with that, did you want to try, Linda, your introduction?
I can give it a try. I can give it a try. Thank you, Erin. Okay, so welcome everybody to this Empathy Circle this evening. The topic that we've come together to talk about is what your thoughts and concerns are about being an Empathy Circle facilitator, or whatever's alive for you when it's your turn to speak. There is a structure to this circle, and if I explain that there are 4 of us here, so there are 4 roles to be taken, and those roles are of speaker, active listener, silent listener, and facilitator. And on this occasion, I am the facilitator, as you may have guessed, of this circle. And it's my role to take responsibility for keeping everybody in the circle within the process that I'm going to explain in a moment, and also to keep people on time, which is a very important aspect of running the circle smoothly, so that everybody has an opportunity to speak and be heard, and everybody has an opportunity to practice active listening. So the roles are like this. So as facilitator, I would be the first listener, and somebody would begin speaking to me, and we'll have a time of, say, 5 minutes for each interaction. So somebody will begin speaking on the topics that we've chosen for this evening, and you've come to be part of this circle about, and I will listen, and I will keep time. And I've got a bit lost now. And the silent, the other people will be listeners, but passively listening and not reflecting back to the speaker. So the active listener will be using sort of short feedback loops to respond to what the speaker is saying. It's not about offering judgment or advice or anything like that. It's merely showing that you've heard by reflecting and summarising and using simple language to encapsulate what the person has said to you. And once the person who is speaking and the time is reached, which I will indicate by doing this, then the person who is speaking, when when they finish speaking, they can acknowledge that they've actually been heard, and they could say something like, I feel heard, feel fully heard. It would then be the listener's opportunity to speak, and they would choose their listener as the next step in the process. And that is how the circle will continue, and can go on for as many rounds as time allows within the amount of time that we have. And that's about it. I wonder if, if I check, do people understand the process and feel that they are committed to following the process for the duration of the circle?
Great. Very good. How was that for you?
I got a bit lost. I got a bit lost at one point. I was like, hang on a minute, what am I saying? Where am I going with this? I have to say I'm a bit of a visual learner, and so actually presenting things in visual terms is helpful. And I have seen some, I mean, within the video, there's the sort of, this is speaker, listener, arrow. I like that. And I think I probably want to use some sort of visual aid to explain, because it helps my brain.
Yeah. And can keep you, I think that would keep me on track if I knew where I was visually in the picture of the circle. So yeah, that's good. Very good thought. Let's see, any feedback? I just had one thought before I forget. It is the role of the non-speaking listeners, which I think you referred to as the silent listeners first, and then later referred to as the passive listener, which I think seems like if you have an active listener, you have a passive listener. I think Edwin does really have a preference for the silent listener, just because it might suggest that you're not engaged in actually like listening. So, and I've referred to it as the silent or the passive listener myself. And that was something that I think makes sense to be a silent listener. I don't know how you feel about that, but.
Yeah, I can say, yeah, it's the language, isn't it? So passive implies, kind of, not being actively involved, which of course you are very much so, aren't you? Yeah.
But when you say there's an active listener, I think it does sort of, in my mind, suggest that there is a passive, the active and the passive. So
it's the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah. Any other feedback for Linda? You did a great job.
Yes, I thought you did a great job in explaining the process. So yeah.
I could see how having visual aids would be helpful. That video, actually, you can sort of not even give the presentation, just show the video too. That's another way of kind of just having. So that's one. And then the other is that the visuals. There is a Google Doc. I mean, a Google slideshow of it. So you can actually show the Google slide on the screen, and then you could narrate it as well, as sort of to have that as a tool too, if you feel more comfortable. So just some tips there.
Oh, thank you. I'll look up the slides.
I want to use those slides too again. Okay, so we can go ahead and move into the empathy circles, and I think we'll probably have, what would be perfect is if we did 2 circles of maybe 25 minutes long. Does that seem right, Edwin?
We could, because we only have 2, usually we have 3 in the group, so it's like half an hour for each. Since we have that extra half hour, you could do the whole process. What do you think of that? So do the introduction again, just as if you're leading a circle. So you just do the whole circle from sort of start to finish.
Okay.
That was just an idea. It's up to you,
Yeah.
Erin.
And then just 30 minutes each, including the introduction. That'd be nice. Would you like more practice on the introduction? Sometimes that kind of like helps you roll into the, the circle. And then with the circle as the facilitator, you'll keep the time, and I'll just keep the time on the whole 30 minutes. So kind of alert when we're ready to switch over to the other student. Yeah, any questions? Okay, who would like to go first for this?
Both volunteering, aren't we? I don't mind going first.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I do have a question about the time then. So my maths is not that great. So so are we saying that there's a 5 minutes feedback loop for each person?
Yeah, generally we do. Let's see, does that give us about 4 times around, or should I go with 4 minutes, Edwin?
Yeah, maybe 4 minutes at least. Yeah. Or yeah, I don't know. Because we want, let's see, you want to give the presentation, it's about 4 minutes, then your circle, about 20 minutes, that's 25. And then we have 5 minutes debrief, and then on it. And then I think we can we'll have a little bit of extra time just to talk at the end, just overview, a few minutes.
Yeah, so good question. 4 minutes, I think, will be good for our turn speaking.
Cool. Okay. So, hello, good evening. Welcome to this Empathy Circle. The subject matter for our circle this evening is, what are your thoughts and concerns about being an Empathy Circle facilitator? And that's the key question. But also you can share whatever's alive for you, whatever comes up for you, as well when it's your turn. So I'm just going to speak a little bit about how the circle works, and then get your agreement at the end of that to engage in the process that's being proposed to you this evening. So in the circle we have 4 roles. One role is the role of facilitator, and I'm taking on that role this evening, and that means that I will be calling time when it's been your turn to speak, and so that everybody gets a chance to speak and be heard, and everybody gets a chance to practice some active listening. And I'll be using this symbol when your time is up. And if you're just in the process of just reflecting back as the listener, or you're still saying something as the speaker, I'm not going to cut you off. We just kind of ease it off at that point. So that's one role. That's the facilitator role. That is my role this evening. But I will be participating in the circle as well. So I will take on in the first instance another role in the circle, which is that of active listener, and I will demonstrate through what I do how an active listener should be behaving, and that sounds very strict. Must behave. Yeah, so the listener, the active listener, will be reflecting back and summarising whatever the speaker is saying. So the speaker is another role, and the speaker will be talking on the subject matter or whatever's coming up for them. And it's a good idea for the speaker to have to just speak in just 2 or 3 sentences at a time. Don't say too much, because the listener may have a problem then reflecting back if too much is said at once. So it's good for the speaker to pause occasionally when they're speaking. So the speaker speaks, the listener reflects back after some period of time, and that exchange goes on until the time is up. Now, the other roles in the circle are those of silent listeners. So listening to the speaker, but not actually interacting about what the speaker is saying, just being present within the circle and listening. So they're the roles. I haven't put my timer on for this introduction, so I have no idea where I am with it. But we are here, we are now ready to move into the circle. If you are in agreement with the process that I've explained and are willing to participate in that way. Everybody okay with that? Cool. Okay. So does anybody want to speak in the first? Oh, I've missed a little bit out actually. When the speaker has finished speaking and the listener has finished listening, the listener becomes the speaker. So they will then be and they will choose their listener. It's quite an important part as well of the circle. So, and it gives an opportunity for everybody to participate as well. So, would anybody? I'm ready to listen. Would anybody like to start on the topic of what are your thoughts and concerns about being an empathy circle facilitator, or whatever's coming up for you now? Anybody like to start that? Elsa. Thank you. I'm ready to listen.
So thank you, Linda, for explaining the process. And I have enjoyed, being part of these empathy circles. I only came to know about it maybe less than 2 weeks ago, and I was so excited to sign up. And as part of the prerequisites, I had to attend 2 empathy circles prior to last Wednesday's class, and I managed to do it with an Australian group, so I was really excited about it.
So you fairly new to empathy circles. You've only heard about this training within the last few weeks, really, and you've taken part in a couple of circles before embarking on this training, and you've been involved in those circles with an Australian group, which has been quite exciting for you.
So in my experience, I come with an open mind and I have no clue what the conversation is going to end up being, but I'm always surprised that it's very engaging, especially because currently it's past midnight for me, and normally I would feel really sleepy, but my mind is very sharp during these conversations.
So I'm hearing that you kind of find it really engaging, despite the fact that it's very late where you are. You're finding the process and the circles really good.
And somehow, even if we start off with a particular topic, we end up, revealing a little bit of ourselves. And that to me is also fascinating, that how a group of strangers in a short period of time can form a connection.
So you've been surprised at how connected people can become, even though they don't know each other.
So I've thoroughly enjoyed all the conversations that I've been part of. And I have also enjoyed my buddy call. So that was a little different because it was between two people and we followed the same methodology. And the 1 hour flew by very quickly.
So as part of this training, you've really enjoyed the empathy buddy call as well, and you found lots of commonality, and that you've enjoyed the buddy call too. Is that right?
Yeah. So what, I've been reflecting about this process and methodology and about listening. The very fact when I was in corporate India, my bosses always told me that I had a problem with listening. And therefore, this is so important to me because it's helping me do that better.
Okay. So you've been told in the past that you're not very good at listening, but you feel like this is really, really helping you for the future.
Yes, thank you. I feel fully heard.
I have to admit that I forgot to put the timer on the first instance.
I
so
almost
much to think about.
Because I was wondering, this seemed a little long.
I was guessing. I had to change it while I was doing. I was like, oh, I'm guessing now. How long you've had? Gosh, I don't know how you do it, Edwin, with all the stuff to organise. Okay, so I now become the speaker because I've been listening, and it would be really nice, Erin, if you would hear me.
Absolutely, I'm listening.
Okay. I'm very excited to be involved in this training and this whole idea of having empathic listening, sort of the concepts sort of spread out across the world. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. I do have concerns about being a facilitator because it feels unusual. I do facilitate a lot of other things, meetings and training. My training style, I do a lot of training, and my training style is very facilitative rather than teachy sort of thing. So facilitating people's own learning, really. And so it feels strange to be participating and facilitating at the same time. And I'm a bit sort of, lots of things to think about.
So it sounds like you're excited to be part of the Empathy Circle and really interested in this training and perhaps the idea of spreading this practice around, but then you have quite a bit of experience facilitating groups and training, and you said that you're kind of a facilitating type of trainer, and this feels different and in the way that you're participating as you're facilitating. So it sounds like you're just navigating that that aspect in this moment.
It's kind of wearing it's the wearing of two hats, really. It's it's a new challenge for me. It's a
a
new
challenge.
challenge. It's a challenge, yeah, but which is great, which is fine. I'm happy to always always be learning. I'm quite intrigued as to how to manage perhaps people who might come to a circle who are not necessarily going to buy into the process and believe that I've already come up against it, not against it, but I've come up against, I've said it against again. I don't mean against, I've come across, there we are. I've come across already people who are unsure about the process and find are sort of saying, oh, it's very simplistic, isn't it? And I saying, yes, but that's the beauty of it, is that anybody can actually follow the process and therefore participate. So, yeah.
So it sounds like you were saying, you know, this is a challenge wearing the two hats, but I'm up for the challenge and learning something new. And you also anticipate, or actually have maybe encountered another challenge, which is, you know, having someone in your group who wasn't going to participate actively or did not like the structure of it.
Yeah, it was just to qualify. It was more talking about this model and the process and them saying, oh, I don't know whether I'm, you know, I don't know whether I'm used to going deeper than just reflection and summarising. And I said, yeah, but you'd be surprised how deep things do go. And they were like, oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, so it was more them challenging the concept even before they'd taken part in it.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So not in the circle, but before the circle, just taking the structure as too simplistic and not deep enough, and having issue with that.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Erin. Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay. Edwin, would you be my listener?
Listening.
Okay. All right. So, well, I certainly would kind of echo Linda's kind of talk about here. I'm like looking to make sure my timer is still going, facilitating and participating. It can be really distracting. But you know, Linda also kind of referred to the magic in the circle, and I think that it still comes through even when we're struggling.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that you're also having that aspect of there's challenges of kind of keeping the time, taking care of everything, and that there's some distractions there, but the magic still comes through. Even though you're doing all that, there's still something magical or positive that comes through.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, maybe to some extent, some of that is, well, the structure is there. So definitely holding the structure. And then I think when maybe I feel like when I'm just distracted, that distraction is still an intention. You know, the intention being to make sure that that culture of empathy like gets carried, you know. So I guess because I maybe that though it is just you know, I might feel distracted or two hats or something, the intention is empathy, and I kind of have a feeling that comes through somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so even if you have like distractions and there is sort of the structure too that sort of holds it, and that there is an underlying intention of creating this empathic culture, and that sort of comes through maybe the different challenges. You still have that sense of that feeling of that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's certainly not like perfection, you know, with, I think every you know, circle is different. And that's, to me, the beauty of it too, you know, even if there are like things that make it more or less challenging or more or less like emotional or more or less intellectual or whatnot. Yeah, so that's how I'm feeling about facilitating today.
Oh, so you're feeling that every circle is different, and each one has a different, yeah, it's just different.
And just also picking up on Linda talking about learning, I feel like in facilitating, I have learned so much about myself and about yeah, I just couldn't even go. I could kind of go on, but I don't want to use up the whole circle time. So next time around, I'll start on all that.
Yeah, so just doing facilitation, that you've learned something about yourself, and there's a lot that you can share about that. So you're going to hold off until your next turn to kind of address that.
Thank you, Edwin. I definitely feel fully heard.
Okay, thanks. Elsa, can I speak to you?
Sure.
Yeah, so for me, in terms of facilitation, there's kind of two things that are coming up. One is really how to keep refining the process and the tools to make it easy, you know, for everyone. So there's less anxiety or stress for people taking part in this.
So what I'm hearing is that you are constantly looking to refine the tools and the process of facilitation so that people who are part of this process feel less anxious.
Mm-hmm. And I've created a page, a Google Doc for sort of a checklist that we can, like this introduction, I think we can do more to kind of make that smoother, have it better documented. So I keep making notes in there, and, you know, and I want to share that, like, you know, how do we really create this document that's more to help to support everyone in how to give the how-to instructions.
So you've spent a lot of time building these resources. You've got this Google Doc where you have this how-to, and a step-by-step process is detailed over there, but you're still trying to refine it in a way which would make it easy for anyone to use it.
Yeah, and the other part is for facilitation is like, how do I listen more deeply? I think there is just so, I kind of feel like I don't listen as deeply, you know, as I could. I just feel a little, I'm not, you know, like sometimes I reflect, hear something, and it's like, it's just right on the spot. It just feels really clear. It's almost a beautiful reflection. You know, it's like, how do I get more, more of that? You know, it's like, yeah, so I'm just, you know, yeah, how to really hear more deeply and reflect where people are more deeply.
So what I'm hearing is that you're still, you know, trying to refine your art of listening to understand more deeply what that person is saying and feeling. There are times when you reflect and it's a perfect reflection, but you're still trying to go beyond the words and understand that person.
Yeah, in fact, as I say, perfect reflection, it's actually a beautiful reflection. It's like there's not a perfection. It's like, oh, there's sort of a magical, there's a clarity, a sense of connection. You know, there's a less stress in it, and it's really contributing. I can feel we have a sense of connection. It's sort of moving the experience of the other person sort of forward, and they have a little bit of an insight or some, you know, something sort of magical, you know, yeah, about, or beautiful or magical about it.
So I'm sensing this excitement about, a beautiful reflection is when there's a connection between the two people, and that you can actually sense in a way what they are saying and feeling, and can reflect that in the truest sense.
Yeah, and how do I get more into that state to be able to do that? Where is my attention? Where's the best place to focus the attention? What sort of, yeah, so there's a lot there. So there's a lot to explore.
So you want to explore how to refine your own, your own ability to reflect better, to listen better, and yeah, hold
Yeah,
that.
that's it. I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Thank you. I could feel your excitement. And I'm just wondering, this is online, but imagine if it was in person. Okay, so we've done one round. So
We have about, oh, I'm probably muted. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. We have there's about a minute left in this cycle. So we could kind of debrief now, on that and find out how it was for you, Linda.
Yeah, it was it was I was distracted, and I really wanted to listen to everything that everybody had to say, and I felt a bit, I don't know, felt a little bit upset that I was having to facilitate because I really wanted to hear what everybody had to say. So that's something in me, isn't it? I guess I'm thinking, I'm just exploring it in my own head now, that I want to be part, and I need to just step back into the facilitator role when I'm in that role, and accept that I can't hear everything that people are saying. Yeah.
I guess I've maybe heard facilitators even kind of mention that when it's their turn around, like this, just how much they're enjoying it, and that it is a challenge. Like I think that you did, sometimes that I guess can feel good to me, to at least to be heard on how I feel about facilitating to some extent. You know what I mean? Like that kind of keeps you in it in a way. So yeah, definitely valid feelings.
And I had a very interesting experience very early on about being with somebody else having a facilitation role, but volunteering to be a facilitator, but actually just finding it really, really so challenging that they've kind of said, "Oh, I don't think I can." Yeah, so that was before I started on this training, and yeah, and I heard them speaking about it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds." And I'd only taken part in Empathy Circles. I hadn't facilitated at that point, and I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." But now I'm feeling it myself.
So I did have one comment. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was the circle, the person's turn ended, and then there were some comments made sort of about what was sort of happening. And what I find is best, instead of having those comments just kind of going to the group in general, because that sort of disrupts the flow and turn, that you select someone and then say whatever you want, the commentary about whatever just happened. Do you know what I mean? So instead of breaking the flow and just having, oh, we're just chatting here, I mean, especially that it's like, make this, select the person you want to speak to and then share it so it stays within the flow. That was just a little, I can't remember exactly what happened, but I didn't know there was something where he sort of broke the structure for, you know, just a 10-second. So, yeah.
So, sorry, can I clarify, Edwin? So you're saying to perhaps just choose a person that you would say those things to. So for me to say, for example, Erin, I realised that I know, I think I know what it was. It was when I realised that I hadn't put the timer on, and I was
Right,
like,
that
oh,
was it.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, okay.
So
maybe
yeah,
I
I'll select Erin. Erin, I realized I didn't do the timer. I kind of messed up there. So I'm hearing you really messed up, feeling messed up because you didn't have the timer on or whatever it is.
Okay.
So that way it kind of keeps within the empathic flow and you feel heard about it too. So it,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's kind of along the lines of what I was getting at too. I think it does. I think it adds to the circle and holds it together when you can do that. That takes some discipline to do that. But yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the practice.
Anything else? Anyone? We could turn it over to Elsa Marie if you're feeling ready.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Empathy Circle. I'm Elsa, and today we are going to be discussing what are your thoughts and concerns about being an Empathy Circle facilitator? Or you can choose to talk about whatever's alive for you at this moment. Now, an Empathy Circle has 4 roles amongst the participants. So one is a facilitator. And so today I'm your facilitator. And as a facilitator, I'll be keeping time. Each round of dialogue will be for 4 minutes. And at the end of 4 minutes, I will hold my phone up. So just nod, whether you're the speaker or the active listener. You can just nod and let me know that you've seen it. And apart from being the timekeeper, my role is also to hold the space for the process. So, you know, if the process is broken at any point in time, I will gently, you know, bring you back into the process. So do not take anything personally. And we can talk about it at the end if there is a need to. The other role is a speaker. So there'll be one speaker who will be sharing, and I would encourage you to pause after every 2 to 3 sentences so that it's not overwhelming to the active listener. And after you've paused, the active listener, which is the third role, will reflect back on what the speaker has said. And the fourth role is really the silent listener. So the active listener will reflect back what the speaker is saying without any judgment, and with, you know, trying to capture the essence of what the speaker is saying. The silent listener will silently listen and be present to the exchange between the speaker and the active listener, and that person will have a chance to also speak and listen. So the process goes as such. The first speaker will select an active listener, and after their 4-minute dialogue of reflecting and speaking, the speaker will say, "I'm fully heard," and end that. Then that listener, that active listener, becomes the speaker and selects the next active listener. And once everyone's had a chance to speak and listen, the circle is complete. So, were my instructions clear and have you understood? And would you like to try it out? So in the first round, I'm the facilitator and I will set my timer for 4 minutes. But I will also be the active listener in the first round. So who amongst you would like to be the first speaker? And I will be your listener.
I will.
Okay, Erin. So I'm going to start my timer.
Okay. So didn't have something in my mind to say when I volunteered, but I was still excited to talk. Sorry, I have a light problem here. So I just first want to really sort of like share my appreciation for Edwin, kind of thinking about the process and trying to help us be able to approach it with the least anxiety possible. You know, I just want to say thanks for that. I think that's very generous and I think wise too, you know. So yeah, just want to say that.
So what I'm hearing is that you volunteered to speak first, even though you weren't prepared and you didn't really have anything in your mind, but you wanted to place on record your appreciation for Edwin's thoughtfulness in creating this process, which you think is really generous and lovely.
Yeah, and especially that piece about thinking about how to make it as easy as possible to learn and the least kind of anxiety provoking to learn, you know, those key pieces.
Yes. So you really appreciate that he's put a lot of thought into the process to make it less anxious for people to participate in this process, as well as, you know, there's a bit of structure so that you follow it. And that too is, you know, keeps you focused and not anxious.
Yeah, because I think it is pretty, it seems like it's pretty I mean, I don't know, I felt anxious when I, you know, was starting. I still do, like I'm new to like being, you know, assisting as facilitating, you know, trainee. So I feel all that and I think, you know, it's excitement that kind of carries me through. And then also just like the beauty and the magic, like I just, you know, I think that really helps. But I do appreciate like that continual effort to you know, make sure that it's like warm, inviting, and the openness, you know, is really fostered, because I think that helps. That's what helped, you know, for my anxiousness to try like jumping into being a facilitator or being a trainee or something like that. I really appreciate it.
So you really feel, from your personal experience, you know that, you know, you feel anxious in facilitating this empathy circle. And even now, as an assistant trainer, you're still anxious at times. But because of Edwin's thoughtfulness in creating this process, it has helped you. It has alleviated your anxiety, as well as it gives you that space to be excited and open to trying it out and jumping into it, because there's you know, there's an openness to allow you to you know, to participate and not be afraid to fail.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay, great. So it's my turn to speak, and I'm going to pick Linda. Would you like to be my listener, Linda?
Yes, Elsa, I'm ready to hear what you have to say.
Great. So, yeah, even I haven't thought about what I'm going to say, but I'm going to build on the conversation. I think it really is a great process because it seems very simple, but it's not really simple. It does take a lot of effort to listen, especially if it is past midnight, but there could be many other distractions as well. You could be hungry, you could have been stressed out from something else prior to that. So there are many stressors, but just staying on track with speaking, listening, and going back and forth between different people is an interesting process.
So you're just saying, Elsa, you seem to be saying that the process is seems simple, but there is some complexity to it, and that's impacted perhaps by other things outside which are maybe distracting that have happened during the day, or the fact that it's quite late at night or whatever. So you're just reflecting on the fact that that there is a structure and going backwards and forwards is good and everything, but there is a bit of complexity I was hearing there about it.
Also, what was said earlier, when Edwin said that he was trying to find that beautiful reflection, and I was trying to understand like what would be that, what would make it a beautiful reflection if you caught not only the words but also the emotion, and how can you do that well online because we are not in the same room. So sometimes it's also the little the body language, and what you can see on the screen right now is just up to your chest. So are we missing some of that body language when we do it online?
Yeah, so you're just reflecting about how you're just looking at the fact that we're doing all of this online, and perhaps some of the nuances that might be present with people in person are not there. You haven't got that sort of warmth and the body language and things to give you clues about how people are feeling. So it's perhaps a bit of an extra challenge, and you only ever get to meet people from the shoulders upwards.
Yeah, and despite that, my experience has been quite pleasant and quite surprising as well. So I'm just wondering how it would be if we did have a circle, together in the same room, how powerful that would be.
I didn't quite catch the last word that you said there. So how powerful. Forgive me, I just a little glitch in the sound there. Yeah, so you're just wondering what it would be like to have people in the same room doing undertaking this process, and what power that might have. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
So yeah, Edwin, would you hear what I have to say?
Listening.
Thank you. There's a lot of stuff coming up for me now about what everybody's been saying, and what Elsa was saying about meeting people in this way, and there's so many amazing things about about this virtual world that some of us have launched into as a fairly new thing, one of which is that here I am in this Zoom room with people from across the world. How amazing is that? I probably wouldn't have thought about doing that 24 months ago. So that's opened up all sorts of things, but there is this kind of two-dimensional aspect, isn't there, to our interactions, which stand in the way of some of the nuances of human connection and communication. And I have had periods of time when I've felt Zoom stressed and Zoom anxiety of going on yet another call where everybody's looking into the screen like that.
Yeah, so you're amazed about kind of how we can be here sort of internationally. It is sort of a flat two-dimensional world, and that you sometimes get some Zoom stress, just feeling a bit stressed on that you're on Zoom a lot. And then also you start off, I think, by saying that you just had a lot of ideas were sort of coming up in response to what you've heard so far.
Yeah, and as far as empathy circles are concerned, I mean, I've got this idea. I've got this idea that I would want to start which I am doing, facilitating empathy circles with members of the local community, which I have started doing as a, part of coming on this training and wanting to do it, and being more able to do it, I guess. And I'm wondering how that's going to translate in the future into us meeting in person and doing it. I'm starting to think about it. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Now you've been thinking about having sort of empathy circles with your community, and you're actually doing it, and you're just having some curiosity about what's that going to be like when it's in person versus on Zoom.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I do hope that lots of people get involved so that it's something which can be helpful to us when we come out the other side of the situation that we're in at the moment.
Yeah. So it sounds like you think it's helpful, and you're just wondering how to kind of spread it, or especially after COVID, like what's it going to be like? What's the world going to be like when we come out of this COVID world?
That's it. Thank you. Yes, I feel really well heard. Okay. Thank you, Evan.
Then speak to Erin.
Yes, listening.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'd made a note about your, comments about me, setting all this up. I did want to say that I think in terms of co-design, so human-centered design, there's you have designers who design something, but you can also have the community sort of co-design something. And that's what I'm really looking at, is how do we create an environment for co-design so we just keep developing, iterating on this process.
So you're actually interested, it sounds like, in human-centered design. And so reflecting on what I was saying about trying to refine it, you're actually wanting the community to have input on that.
Yeah, and I feel pretty excited about within the design community, they have the different concepts. They have something called a minimal viable product. It's like the minimal thing that sort of works. And it feels like the empathy circle is this minimal thing, that works. And you can just keep iterating. And now the training is becoming a minimal viable product of the training. And you just keep iterating. You go through a cycle, you kind of learn, grow, expand it, go through the cycle again. So it creates this iterative, growing process that, yeah, I just seeing the possibilities of it, and it's kind of exciting.
So you're embracing a iterative process of growth with the human-centered designs concept of the minimal viable product.
Yeah, it's the minimal thing that sort of works, like something that people sort of want or can use, and it's just and then you just kind of keep iterating and expanding on it. So it's in human-centered design. That I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but it's design. It's also called design thinking. There's a whole design community in the world that just designs products and services. So they have all kinds of tool sets, for doing it. And it's one concept in that community's tool set, I guess.
So the minimal viable product is, did I get that right this time? Viable product is a concept within so many tools that the design community have, sort of developed in order to design, products that are, especially here, human-centered.
And then the other idea is just that we co-design, like, we keep iterating around this. So this training has just been, at each iteration, I think it just keeps growing, just kind of sensing that. It's like, wow, this is pretty cool. I got another idea. It's kind of fun to, come up with these ideas and implement it and hear what everybody else has to say. So, I'm kind of enjoying that.
So you're enjoying the process, it sounds like, of co-designing. And I think before you had said that at first the circle felt like the minimal viable product, but now it's really also this training and using that same process for refining this as well.
Yeah, and the other thing is just I know it's so late there in India for Elsa, that thanks for sticking, taking part so late. We do have the cohort 11, which is going to be at a better time. That's going to be coming up in the beginning of March. So that's also an option if you want to join that group.
So you're feeling much gratitude for Elsa Marie coming to the circle in the middle of the night, and mentioned the cohort 11, which could be at
9:30 a.m. or something like that, I think. So yeah, I feel flavored.
Okay.
You just muted, Erin.
Sorry.
Oh.
Linda, could you be my listener?
Yes, Erin, ready to hear you.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting conversation, and I've been thinking quite a bit about communication online, and I do natural medicine, and I had an office that I gave up in April of this year, and I've been working all online. So I've been thinking about this a lot.
So you've been thinking about how we're all interacting online, and you recently closed your practice or your office, and you're thinking about how you're going to carry on with your practice online.
Yeah, so it's been almost a year that I've been online, here in about a month. And it's interesting because one of the things that I did come to after I sort of came to terms with doing this was that even though I didn't have all of the cues that I would in person, and there's certainly something I do believe in, kind of energy too, and the energy, that's shared. And also like the physical space, like I created in my office, I created a really wonderful physical space too. But the one thing that's been important to me is that I can actually see the whole face of my friend that I'm talking to, you know, or client or whoever, or you, I like that otherwise I would be sitting with someone masked, you know, so there's been a trade-off, and I could never know or say what is better, but there's that little piece, a little nugget that I value, you know, I can sit with you, Linda, and I can see your whole face. So that's one thing that's come to me.
So despite some of the challenges, you can see positives in interacting in this way and being able to see all of somebody's face where we would just be having masks if we were in person. You can see the benefits of this sort of interaction.
Yeah, I do. And then I guess it's very neat to hear more about Edwin's, you know, the roots of his process here with human-centered design. I like that a lot. I like hearing that, and also I think it's just him saying like the intentions of things is very helpful. Like I mentioned before, even just hearing that in a circle is nice. So I wanted to say that.
So you're really appreciating Edwin sharing about the process of the development of this training, and the idea of it being a sort of co-production.
That was time for your circle, Elsa Maria. So good.
Yeah.
Do you have any feelings you'd like to share about facilitating, Elsa Marie?
No, I think I was pretty comfortable. I didn't get stressed out with the timing. I think it helps if you put the timer on your phone so that you don't have to then look down. The sound alerts you. The only time is when I'm the speaker and the facilitator, and that could be disturbing. So maybe I will need to point that out in advance, that you may hear the alarm, so don't get distracted.
Anyone have anything that they would like to share, feedback or thoughts?
Yeah, I like the phone when it kind of rings a little bit, you know, so it just makes a audible, it just makes it easier. Then you don't have to break into the conversation because that sounds there kind of clues people in. So yeah, find that helpful. Otherwise, for me, it just everything felt smooth, felt very smooth.
I guess I've been in a circle before as a speaker, not noticing that someone was trying to cue me with time like this, just in my head looking up or whatnot. So I think the bell is really nice for that for me, people who tend to be looking inside their head to think about what they're saying. So yeah, that one is a little bit harder to miss. It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, on that note, I found the fact that Elsa put her phone into the screen helped. it was like, yeah, okay, that's the time. So maybe a little, just reflecting on that little clock face. I don't know. I've got a little clock face that's got no hands on it. Yeah, it was great, Elsa. Yeah, I thought it was all flowed very nicely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I felt so too. And yeah, I want to just extend my gratitude to Linda and Elsa Marie for being in this circle. You know, this is the first time that I have facilitated this part of the process, and what a joy it was to do it with you and Edwin today. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it and really enjoyed our circle and the time we've had together. So I just wanted to share that. Now, that being said, do you have any questions about facilitating, about introductions, or things that you've anticipated or you came across in this round or outside of our Empathy Circle training that you wanted to ask about?
Not really. I mean, I think the process is pretty clear. So once you get used to it, I'm pretty used to the speaking and reflecting, and now it's like about the facilitating, introducing that. But the Australian group, which has it earlier in the day for me, they told me that I can also practice my facilitation there. So I'm going to do that.
Super. Super. We really appreciate you being there for that.
A couple of things. What comes up is sometimes in the, just since I had this stack open, is this is the one-page, PDF. Is some beforehand you can email that to people, and actually if they want to print it out to kind of have that handy, so they just have a reference to look at, can be helpful. I've got a sign here, like sometimes that didn't happen here. Someone kind of goes on, speaks a long time, and as a facilitator, you can say, oh, remember to pause, but you can also just have a visual clue to remember to pause if as a facilitator, you feel that they're going on, too long. And then I'm pretty blunt about these signs, but others do, fancy kind of drawings or I think, Linda, you're saying have a time, a clock or something to indicate. So those are just a few little tips that, since I have this open, so I just share that.
Those are great, Edwin. I love the remember to pause. That's super. Because I notice sometimes I mean, maybe I can ask you about this. There's a balance certainly between interrupting in order to like keep the structure, and then maybe just letting something go and the structure like coming back around, And I do feel like sometimes if I would interrupt and say, remember to pause, just depending on where they are, like my verbal interruption might break, a little bit more than maybe even the sign would.
Yeah, I'm the same. I kind of don't want to interrupt, and like, yeah, you say the sign is a little bit gentler, and then also just kind of giving a chance for it to kind of work itself out. You're kind of looking at what point do you kind of interrupt. Different people can handle more in terms of listening, is the person kind of, you sense they're getting stressed? Should I say something? Or you could say, remember, you can ask for a pause too. So it's because in the intro, I think it does say as speaker tips, active listener, you may ask the speaker to pause periodically to reflect back what you heard. So it's in the description too, to give the listener, permission to ask for that pause. So yeah, a lot of little nuances just to create that beautiful experience.
Yeah. And I would, did Linda, go ahead.
Sorry, so it's an XR thing. You put your finger up when you want to speak. You can stack me, Erin. Go ahead.
You're on now, Linda.
I just something's just come up for me, which I which I'm just remembering happened. And this was before, when I'd taken part in a couple of circles, but before I'd started the training here. And we were having a kind of regenerative meeting and talking about things that we could do as part of regenerative culture, and we had a little round of empathy circle. So it was kind of, we were still feeling our way, weren't really kind of completely fixed on the process, but had looked at this process and said, well, let's try this. And what happened was I was speaking, I was the speaker, somebody else was facilitating, I was the speaker. And the person who was listening spent their whole time with their head facing towards the screen, and they were clearly making notes like this. And I kept pausing so that they could reflect back, but they just weren't doing it. And in the end, the facilitator said, do you want to reflect back now? Or do you want to just respond to them? They kind of interjected in that way. And it just blew the whole thing out apart. It just kind of, nothing worked after that. It was really quite awkward. So I just, and the person who had been listening was kind of taking notes. And she said, oh, I'm used to hearing everything and then coming back after I've heard everything. So I just kind of wonder how, I'm just kind of thinking about that now and wondering about all this,
I could respond. There is a nonviolent communication. They also use the term empathy circle, and they do that where you go for the full 5 minutes or whatever, and then you reflect back. So I'm going to be closing the rooms too. So they might have been familiar with that process. So, they didn't understand that this was a different process. That's a possibility.
I just remember it being very, it was very difficult it made it very difficult for everybody involved, because it interrupted, because having that interjection from the facilitator sort of like you said, when I was saying about the time, it interrupted the whole process. So it was just, so really good tools. Thanks, Edwin.
Thanks, everyone.
Good, Linda, for me to think about that one a little more. It's good.
Something. To debauch in something.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
You love to play, Timothy. I love your playful spirit.
I like a little bit of music. Every little chance you get. Boom, boom. Yeah, usually I make music when I'm celebrating. So that's what's happening for me right now. I'm celebrating there's just the hard work and the authenticity in our small group, to do that. So right now we want to welcome you back, but also we want to harvest really what's been coming out of what has emerged in work with your small group. And we'd like to invite each of you to take about 1 minute each to share your experience and your insights. And so, like from this practice session in this small group, how was your experience and how might it have changed your feelings about facilitating an empathy circle, right? Or empathy circles. And then a related question also, you might want to comment on this, is what strengths did you notice about yourself? And at the same time, in what area do you see some potential challenges, or maybe little pieces where you see some growth would be helpful for you, So what was your experience? How might it have changed your feelings about facilitating? And then also, what strengths did you notice about yourself, but also where might you want to grow, or might be some challenges for you that still exist? And we as the trainers will be listening for those challenges and questions as well. I'll be calling on people, so we'll be able to go quickly as well. And if there's time during this section, you know, the trainers will have a chance to respond for sure. So we'll be doing that. Okay. So on my screen, Linda, yeah, we'd love to hear from you for about a minute here. I'll let you know when the time is up there so we can move forward. But anything that your strengths or challenges for yourself, or how was your experience, Linda? You're still muted there. There we go.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I think I feel more nervous now than I did before, because I think I'm still processing. I'm still processing what we did and what we did collectively and what I did personally in the practice. And yeah, I think once it's settled with me, I'll feel better about facilitating. But at the moment, I'm still feeling a bit unsettled about it. I'm a bit, not sure. I think I feel fairly strong in terms of explaining the process. Although I have decided that visual aids are important to me to be able to go through the steps, because that's how I think, that's how I need to be able to explain it to other people. So I recognise that now. Yeah, I think
that's about a minute when you hear the bell. Linda, if there's more questions or anything, please feel free to put them in the chat. You know, little notes or questions you've got. We'd love to hear from you on that. Okay, cool. Okay, Elsa Marie in Mumbai, you'd like to comment.
So I feel good about, how I facilitated the circle. I can do better with the script, but, I'm getting there. And overall, I just feel like I can do it for my safe circle without a glitch. And also I am keen to try it out with the other group that I spoke about, the Australian group that I've been hanging out with. So yeah, I'm excited to try it out.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Elsa Marie. And Heather.
Okay, thanks, Timothy.
Herbert meant Heather. I said Heather, not Herbert. But we'll get to you in a moment. Heather, you're next. Thank you, Herbert. Don't lose any of your good thoughts there, Herbert. Heather, you're on. Heather Hiscox.
Okay. Yeah, it was good. I mean, this time was a lot of work. I feel like last time I just was kind of like, oh, here we are, but this time I was just very focused. So I'm more tired after all that work. So it was good. I noticed some things that I wanted to work on. I was already doing a little bit more of and paying more attention. So that felt good. Some areas of growth is I really want to pay more attention to timing and pacing. And yeah, just keep growing and keep experimenting. I keep wanting to do more circles now so that I can really grow and expand. So it was great.
Thank you, Heather. And next on my screen is Michelle.
Hi, Tim. Yeah, we it was.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other Michelle. Michelle AC, take it away. Yeah.
I want to first. Go ahead, Michelle. I'm going to have to start being clear.
Or Michelle or even. Yeah.
Sure. So my experience was really good. I feel that it almost made me more nervous, like about being a facilitator in one sense, you know, when you're away from it, you're just like, oh yeah, blah, 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 it's just going in your head and everything, you know, you're doing that envisioning, and then you come and you actually practice it. And it's like, oh, I got some more work to do. So my weakness or my challenge or where I want to focus some work is on my intro, the timing. I was a little bit long-winded, maybe like I am now. And then strengths, I don't know. I guess I feel proud of myself for being in tune with a little bit of a stumble that happened in my circle. I think I facilitated it fairly appropriately. So yeah, that's it. Check. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And next, Sylvia in Munich.
Yeah, I enjoyed this again. I feel like it was very educational and worthwhile for me. It was really great to practice what you know in theory, and even though it shows you that it takes or it is or this was work, as Heather said, it also showed me that yeah, some more practice and I can do this. Yeah, I feel confident now.
Cool. Thank you, Sylvia. And Graham, go ahead.
I enjoyed the whole time that we were working on our practicing. Some of the interesting things were that we all got confused about our roles, or not all of us, some of us did, and we had a good laugh about it. And so the spirit of the group was good, and yeah, so really what I'm learning is just relax. Things will work out. The things that need sharpening up are things like my description of the roles of the people play, and we talked somewhat about safety. There's some elements about safety. We all felt safe in our group, but there's some topics of safety came up, and I need to think a bit more about them. And so thank you. I enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Appreciate it. Celine.
Well, as ever, every practice is very helpful to me. My introduction was a little spare, so I would want to add to that. And I appreciate some of the topics we brought up, one about therapy or not therapy, and the facilitator saying a few words about why this is especially important to me, as part of the introduction, to set the tone. So I learned more. I love always experiencing the other people in the circle. I really am interested and curious. I think that will be an asset, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Celine. And Renee.
Hello. I really enjoyed and learned a tremendous amount in our circle time. It was challenging. I would agree with Heather. I was kind of like, you know, chill. Okay, I'm here, I'm listening. And then I was like, oh, this is a lot of work. And the strength that I noticed about myself is, yeah, I think I'm pretty present and authentic and vulnerable, and can laugh at myself. So I noticed that and appreciated people's feedback. And challenges is that there's a lot going on, and it's really a challenge for me to balance things and maintain some internal calmness. I'm now playing with Play-Doh just to continue to calm myself down, because it was really hard to be on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee. Play-Doh, cats are nice too, other thing. Herbert, thank you for waiting.
All right. No problem. Thank you, Timothy. My experience, two things. One is I felt very confident throughout the whole session as a facilitator or as a participant. So that's the one thing. The other experience is, it was fascinating to see people who were totally strangers a second ago suddenly show and share intimate parts of their personality. Wow.
Mhm.
So that's an experience. The other question is about the challenges. Myself, and I think everybody finds it quite challenging to keep the structure and the timing of the whole session. So that's what it's a shortcoming.
Thank you, Herbert. Thank you for expressing yourself. Claire.
Hi, yes, I was in Herbert's group and we had such a lovely group. It was a very calm, safe space. So I came away from this feeling really empowered and heard, and the group really helped me with my confidence in this. So I feel much better doing this. I think the strengths are that my experience teaching at university helps with kind of guiding a conversation. And the challenges, I think two of the other people in the team were very good at giving the roles of each person. And that's something I want to be able to do much better next time and make sure that I'm very clear and explicit on what each person in the group is meant to do. So it was a really good experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Anatoly.
I learned a lot from the session. I have a lot more confidence, I guess, about facilitating, because I passed this a international training thing now, because otherwise it's just me and friends. It's woo, more people who do this heard me do the introduction. So I learned a lot, points about what to say, what's more important, what's less important. I'm generally a very shy person, so guiding people, interrupting people, I don't know. I mean, a lot of that is new for me, so I'm getting a lot of confidence doing that, and it's challenging, but it also feels good to be doing this. So thank you.
Thank you, Anatoly. And Amy Wilson.
Yeah, hello everyone. I think I'm the only Amy here.
Yep.
Okay, so how did I feel? I feel pretty good about what I did. I feel pretty confident, but I also got the lovely experience of listening to everybody else before I got to go. So I had tons of notes to go from. Yeah, and this circle helped me really. I was really wondering about do empathy circles create harm? And it helped me really process a lot of the wondering things that I was wondering about, for me to, I think now empathy circles are, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It was just it was something that I was wondering, how might I create harm? But I'm pretty confident knowing that in the future, I can bring empathy circles with the knowledge of, as a facilitator, I can facilitate whatever arises. So that's what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Amy. And Lynette.
Yeah, it was an awesome session. It brought a lot of normalcy to my thinking. I had a lot of anxiety about things to begin with, and just the way our group rolled with the authenticity and the vulnerability in it, it was awesome. And so it helped relax those anxieties. And I think for me, the practice piece is what I need to go forward with too, and more time. Some of these sessions, how you get into it to where, the whole role play thing, you're nervous to start with, but by the time you get through it, it's no, I want more practice time. That's where I'm sitting. And that, so yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. And
Thanks, Timothy. I'm feeling very different from last time. I think the experience was, I think it's really been very encouraging. It's raised my confidence. I was in the group with Michelle, Herbert, and Claire, and I think it was just like very safe. It felt almost intimate, and I know that's actually one of my strengths. I'm pretty good with one-to-one or a very tiny group, but to do it in this sort of way, it's really helped sort of. This phrase comes to my mind, which I actually use with Michelle. It's a tiny step for a man, but a huge step for mankind. And that's somehow playing in my mind again. It just feels like it's like a magic drop in this ocean, but it sort of, I can almost feel creating ripples. And I was seeing Edwin sort of, lying like this, relaxed at the back. And I just couldn't help wondering, like, he must be feeling like one of those people who has made his millions and now he just lies back. It's like, now I'm just going to see it grow. That's it, my work's done. I'm just feeling so, I don't know, I just feel so great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that image of Edwin. That's great. But also hearing from you, your experience. Thank you. Okay, so I'd say we got about 3 or 4 minutes right now to hear from the trainers. And since we're really being of service to our trainees here, I just wanted to ask the trainers to comment on any of the themes you heard, or maybe in your small group, in terms of some learnings or support for our trainees. So if you have anything to share, trainers, anybody, please go ahead and share those comments right now.
Okay, well, I'll just say, everybody learns at their own pace. So I just want to encourage people, like, you may feel competent at the end of this training, but combined with the rest of your training, and okay, I'm ready to do it and stuff. Or you might not, and you might want to take it again or do other things. And we encourage you to go at your own pace, and that's fine. That's all.
Yeah, and I'll say, what's up for me most actually is curiosity about what Amy talked about, having concern about that empathy circles might create harm. And I'm curious what kind of harm you were worried about, if you're willing to say.
Is that a question you want me to answer?
if you're willing to.
Yeah, I'm happy. Well, I think it comes from a dialogue that we had. So Heather Hiscox and I had with a social worker on Friday about the intersection of, we talked about a lot about design and also how we as empathy, if we have an empathy circle, when somebody brings up something that it could be traumatic, we have this idea of called trauma-informed design. And when you bring up something that's traumatic and it might trigger somebody else, and this might be a form of, like, people might misconstrue this as therapy. And I think that space of, like, how do you hold the space for somebody when they are triggered? I know this because I have PTSD and anxiety and depression that I deal with. I have been fortunate to kind of manage myself, but I'm also very hyper aware of other people who might be having mental health struggles. And I want to be able to, I don't want to create a structure that's going to trigger people and then get them, leave the circle with not being, felt and heard and seen, right? And I know that that's the impact on there, but, like, there's a difference, like, between intention, like, we have a great intention, but also the impact. I just want to make sure, like, be clear that, like, that, and I think I got to clarity today, but, like, being clear about intention and impact are different. And I want to make sure that, like, that impact does become productive and generative rather than destructive.
Okay, and I'm guessing that people having an opportunity to be heard for what's going on in them, that's the safety, right? Is that we don't just have people walk away after something like that might happen, but that people have a chance to be heard for it. Is that right?
Yeah, I see that they then can be heard, but also there's this underlying current of being understood. Because one of the things, as I introduced myself and saying why I think empathy circles are important, I brought up the idea from Stephen Covey of understand first before being understood. And how an empathy circle allows you to do both of those things. You can both understand other people and be understood. But then someone in my group had said, well, what's interesting is that you don't fully understand somebody after like one dialogue or one conversation with someone. And that was a good reminder of me that like, we're not fully understanding ourselves. So, you know, it's like over time you can understand somebody. So just being clear about that too, is that like, this is a space you're creating for a group of people to be heard and in a space and to listen, but we're not going to fully understand, but we can understand better than we did before. So.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I'm just checking the time right now. I do want to really give space for a few announcements and then some preparation for next week. So I think I'm handing it over to you, Edwin. Is that right?
It's Aaron.
Oh, it's Aaron. Great. Edwin, Aaron, see, come on. I have to get my names even better today. Okay. Aaron, you're on.
So before I go any further, though, are there any further trainer comments before we kind of go into the next section?
Just a really 10 seconds from me, just to my group, like we're extremely experienced already. And it really moved me. Yeah, and I'm just really grateful to the group, and it was a great experience. I just wanted to thank them.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
I have one announcement. So I wanted to just put in a link in. So last week I was kind of getting, oh, wow, this is getting feeling kind of overwhelmed with all the organization, because we create these cohorts, you know, at different times. And then I thought, well, we should have just with the cohort be ongoing. So I just wanted to, that's kind of a structure I want to sort of start implementing. So actually cohort 9 is going to be going on after these 5 sessions. There'll be another 5 and another 5. And I just put in the link there. Like if you're interested in signing up for, you know, cohort 9B, that there's the link there, cohort 9C, so that we don't have to, you know, find new dates so the dates will be ongoing. And that you as a participant can move through the process. You can be a participant now. You can, when you feel ready, you can, if you would like, you can take on the role of a trainee. You can be a trainee for, you know, as many sessions as you would like until you feel comfortable and we kind of feel you're ready to become a trainer. You can become a trainer. You can keep going, become a producer, sort of trainee, and then become a producer too for these processes. So to see it more as a sort of a cohort series. So I just wanted to put that out there that you can already start signing up for the next cohort if you want to. And then also invite your friends so that if there are people who can't make it, that others can kind of fill in the cohort. So it was just sort of a design kind of a topic that I wanted to share. And the idea is, you know, you become a trainer and you put Bill and Lou out of a job, right? So they can take off, start up a new cohort series, and then, you know, some of you can actually become trainers here, and it can sort of keep replicating. So I just wanted to sort of announce that so that you can already start signing up for the next cohorts. Yeah, so that was it.
That's exciting news, Edwin. Really excited about that. And now I'll just give a little bit of time to Bill if he wants to say anything about what to expect for next week, and then I'll go into that further.
Okay. If you want, please post one feeling that you're feeling after the session today in the chat. So next week we'll do, we'll send out an email during the week to a reminder to fill out the session feedback survey, hold your empathy buddy call. If you can, facilitate an empathy circle. And then also next week, what we'll be doing is we'll do the how-to, but we'll do the empathy circle with challenges, people who are behaving badly. I think this was modeled on me and my behavior. And so, but seriously speaking, you can have anything from no disruption to more disruption, and then the facilitators will be doing that for you. So that's what the next class looks like. Same thing, only a little bit more challenging, but at your choice. The other thing I just wanted to say that we haven't mentioned is that I am developing another module. It may be a little bit premature for you to do this at this time. I'll be doing it this Sunday though at 12 Pacific time. And that will be how to introduce empathy circles in schools. And that'll be a bit more didactic, but we'll be just using the empathy circle process to discuss the challenges about that. Thanks.
Okay, so I got to tell you, this is next week, the opportunity to facilitate and sort of handle any of those things that the situations that you might have imagined in your head and how you would handle that. Getting to do that is really wonderful. Some of the best experience of this training I felt. So excited for you, and thank you very much. I really enjoyed today, and I think we could kind of like close by doing our jazz hands and take the picture now. We got just Anatoly. Okay, there we go. Got it. Great.
And Timothy's got to do the acting.
Yeah.
Okay, Timothy.
Oh, I'm not acting. I am not acting when I'm having fun. Not acting. Listen.
Everybody.
Okay, see you next
Bye.
week.
Bye, everyone.
Fill out
Thank
those,
you.
Feedback forms. We'll answer any questions next week.
Have a great week.
Those
See you.
forms.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Toodles.